Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Mark Angelides, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Pennell Bird. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. Sub-zero temps and heavy blankets of snow across the U.S. remind us that the time to talk about climate change is, well, now. Climate changers constantly tell us the cold has nothing to do with a warming climate. That appears to be falling on frozen ears. Instead, many harken back to 1979. You may remember that's when Leonard Nimoy starred in a documentary claiming that pollution would bring on a second ice age. Was Dr. Spock right all along? Tim, what do you say on the ever-revolving door of global warming, cooling, and the big chill of 2021?
Well, the problem is that they keep changing the story and they keep moving the goalposts on us. In the 1970s, no less than Time and Newsweek both proclaimed on their covers the coming ice age. Okay, fast forward to after Al Gore had his mental breakdown after he lost the election to George W. Bush. He got rich off it, but he started the whole movement, or he popularized, shall we say, the whole movement about global warming. So we were told that the problem with this Earth was that it was warming so fast that we would all die soon. Then they realized that the dangers were far more expansive than just global warming, so they had to use the all-encompassing term, cleverly so, climate change, which means they can now attribute any kind of extreme weather to climate change. So when you go to a climate change extremist and you say, if the problem is global warming, climate change, then how do you explain all the record cold and snow that we're getting now? And they'll always say the same thing. Oh, silly, weather is different than climate. Climate change will mean that we're going to get searing hot temperatures that will burn us. We're going to get freezing cold temperatures that will freeze us. We're going to get floods, and we're going to get droughts, all of it. So the only thing it all has in common is that we should be afraid, very afraid every day of our lives.
All right, who else on the panel is terrified?
No one.
There you go.
I mean, it's freaking cold where I'm at. I've got snow everywhere. I've got frozen pipes. It's and it'll be a nice spring and a nice summer. It's what happens. It's been doing this for millions of years. I don't think anything we do is going to speed it up or slow it down in the great scheme of things.
It's what we used to call weather.
Sarah, are you guys on windmill power there?
Oh, no. We're firm believers that fossil fuels will keep us afloat. We do have a lot of wind farms, but the windmills are frozen. They're not moving. There is no electricity pumping through the windmills. There's no movement. Windmills frozen. Windmills are frozen. So you're not going to be able to go to, a clean energy if the windmills freeze. They're froze.
Now, we know you're not freezing, but I know you also want to weigh in.
Look, I think, Sarah's referencing the frozen windmills. I think that's the issue they're having in Texas, partly because they bought into green efforts to generate energy. So they may need to take another look at that. I just want to say that the left brooks no disagreement in general. We're seeing that with the increased amounts of censorship. But the climate change argument is like the OG, the original gangsta censorship. You've never been allowed to, it's orthodoxy. And if you gainsay that orthodoxy, then you're a heretic. And you know what they used to do to heretics? It involved a lit match. And I just am nervous about anyone who says the science is settled. I remember Hillary Clinton saying it about vaccines. And the issue with science is, it's ever evolving. You can arrive at consensus over a period of time, but to say science is settled misunderstands science altogether. And honestly, if we believe that, then we'd still be living on a flat Earth with the sun revolving around us. So, I think the problem, as Tim pointed out very sagely, is this moving of the goalposts doesn't lend itself to confidence in the idea of climate change. It really breeds this sort of suspicion about it. And I think, anytime you have to rebrand your movement, sort of like Banana Republic and Target did back in the day, from global warming to climate change, then, you have a problem on your hands. So I think we need honest debate. We're not going to get it because there's no real honest debate anymore. It's just shutting down dissenting views. And I don't think that's good for us. I'm willing to take a good look at climate change, but we need to be able to speak openly about it. And that feels impossible right now.
Let me ask you this, Mark. What's happening in the UK? And then we'll go to you, Tim.
It's cold, but that's the UK. It's always cold. It's snowing, but that's the UK. It's often snowing this time of year. Again, as Tim says, it's cold weather. In terms of the general climate alarmism, I do think that the way out of this is, as Penel says, is conversation. But I think we're having the wrong conversations. Instead of talking about, you can't shut me down for trying to speak, you can't shut me down for questioning the consensus. I think what we should be talking about is how the solutions that are being offered are just so wrong. So we've seen it in Texas. We've had the windmills are frozen. So the response from the left here in the media is that, well, they should have paid extra for the winter casings for the XYZ. So, but if you look across the world, you've got the solar panels in Germany. They're covered in snow. This doesn't work. What we're actually doing, the problem here being, is that we're using 30-year-old solutions that were thought up by the original Greenpeacers, who said what we need wind, we need solar. And these guys, they got behind the movements and they got the money coming in, but they're wedded to the same ideas. These are 30 or 40-year-old solutions to problems. The way out of this is to say, let's assume that, just for a moment, let's assume that what the climate alarmists are saying is even remotely true. These old solutions aren't going to fix that. As we've seen, we have demonstrable proof that these things do not work, especially as weather conditions continue to get more extreme, as they're saying they are. So the point is, what we need is a free market approach to looking at this. We need to open up debate. We need to open up conversation. Nothing should be verboten. Nothing should be off the table. Nothing should be censored or pushed away because it doesn't agree with the consensus. Let the free markets reign, and free markets will come up with a solution, which is sadly my answer to just about everything.
I would like to add one more thing about the climate change people and the windmills. Windmills, once they're done, and they have a shelf life of like 20 years, and then you know what they do with them? They bury them in the landfills. They don't degrade. They are there for freaking ever. Now, how is that helping the earth? How?
Well, the problem is also at the federal level that, good climate science is dependent on honest scientists. And scientists who don't believe in the model of extreme catastrophic climate change cannot get federal funding. If they reveal that they have any hint of skepticism about the extreme climate change arguments, they're not going to get federal funding. So therefore, we're not going to get any good science that counters that of the extremists. And that's exactly the way they want it, because they don't want to debate. They don't want to discuss it. We're way beyond the point of discussion. Now it's going to be the point of simply asserting their power for extreme climate change measures, which are going to drive up the costs of energy, among other things. And how are the American people going to react to a climate change agenda that doubles their electric bills?
Tim, there used to be 3 areas of science that would not get funding. That was time travel, perpetual motion, and one other which unfortunately escapes me now. But the new one is climate science that doesn't agree with the orthodoxy. It's now there with perpetual motion machines and time travel. Oh, faster than light travel was the other one. There's no funding for it because it's deemed to be an impossibility. 3 of them have a base in science. One of them has a base in, as Pinnell says, in orthodoxy. And that's a damn shame.
Sorry, and let me just quickly say to Mark, one of the problems is that it's not just in climate change, it's pervasive throughout science, that there's so much bought science funding for vaccines, for example, comes a lot from big pharma, which is just counterintuitive. And the former editors of the Lancet and the New England Journal of Medicine, which are two of the most prestigious medical journals in the world, and that they say that it's hard to even believe scientific studies today. They're so hopelessly compromised. And so I think, as you point out with climate change, we see it across the board, and it's really dangerous and tragic.
I think we're going to have to close this down. We're way over our time. I think there's a lot of good frozen food for thought. And
no such thing as good frozen food.
And
I beg to differ.
We'll keep tilting at frozen windmills, and I'll let you in on a little secret as we say goodbye. The way to unfreeze these wind turbines, oil-based jet fuel distributed by fossil fuel helicopters. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all our TV productions. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember to surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone if you haven't already done so, just $17.76 a year. And remember, folks, liberty all the time and everywhere.